Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. This is going to be an interesting one because I'm working on a lot of sleep, which is very unusual in the aftermath of a Monday Night Football game, and snowstorms on Wednesdays and sugar plums on Thursdays. Bill Cole is here from Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy, just in time to feed me gingerbread and get me ready for Santa to come down the chimney. You're a football guy, dude. I'm a football guy. Sometimes we get heavy. Last week we got a little heavy on business closing. You and I have done a lot of politics and electoral college and right side, left side, downtown, out of town, all of that stuff. But when it really comes back to it, we met through football. Everybody in my world seems to have met me through baseball or football, right? Maybe basketball or hockey as well for the niche. But Monday night, as it ends, and I sort of reached a euphoric state around 1 a.m. I was still awake. And I'm like, how am I going to go to bed now? And how am I going to get up 4 hours and do 9.5 hours of sports radio in the aftermath of this, which I did all day Tuesday, which is why I slept 15 hours on Tuesday night. But the notion that it can still be good like that at a time when all of us are home, thinking, doubting, kids, snow, work, job, government, all of that, 2020 ending, all of that on Monday night, at least for one night, we were entertained.
I think that was really well said, because there has not been an event there have been events that have kept me awake late at night or prevented me from sleeping, but not in a positive way.
Not since the OJ Bronco.
There were plenty of sleepless nights through the last, 8-10 months, whatever we're working on now, but it was all about worry and concern and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a really unique, forgotten, lost, very well missed experience where I've been turning games off at 9:30, 10 o'clock all year.
I have fallen asleep with a lot of football this year.
Sure.
My wife has watched more than I have. I've woken up to pee at midnight. My wife gives me the score. You know what I mean? It's been that.
And
especially if it doesn't pertain to the Ravens to some degree.
Agreed.
No disrespect to Drew Brees or Jared Goff or Russell Wilson. That's good, but I'm 52 now. I get up at 3 a.m. I generally go to bed around 9.
Right. I think what I'm maybe most disturbed about, and maybe you can give me the therapy today, is that when we're not expected to do very well, I get way more enjoyment out of doing well, our team, than in September when it was actually boring, right? It was like, oh yeah, well, we just dropped 40.
14-2 and 5.
We're going to beat the crap out of them.
Kansas City is 21-1 in their last 22 games, right?
Yeah.
Right. So at some point, and they've been losing at halftime, much more so than we have.
Right.
When we lose at halftime, we lose.
Right.
In general. When we win at halftime, sometimes we lose. This has been quite a magic carpet ride on the backside of COVID, on the backside of the injuries. But the Lamar Willis Reed act, in year 3, this is, it's almost like the Michael Jackson, get the popcorn,
It was so it felt so scripted that it was just really odd. I still, to this day, I'm like, that could have been made for television. I'm not sure, because it was just so perfect. And it's and I usually don't get vested enough to care about the refs, but even early on in that game, I just felt like the referees were really picking on us. And I'm like, okay, I guess they've all decided that Cleveland needs to be in the race here. So, and just to overcome
you are a
that,
conspiracist at heart, aren't you? I mean, every time you bring up a conspiracy on this segment, I'm going to stop you and say the refs are out to get us.
No,
yeah, like a Maryland Terps fan.
Hold on, it's not a conspiracy. To me, refereeing is human nature. Okay. And if early on you witness a team doing certain things, you're more apt as a referee to look for those later on, and then it starts to snowball.
I don't think there's any doubt that once you get a reputation, whether you're James Harrison or whether, it doesn't matter, whatever the reputation would be, that yes, you come into the game with that. The kid from the Bengals that ran around and tried to beat up the Steelers one night.
Not just game to game, but quarter to
Vontez
quarter.
Burfict, yes.
Right. Not even just game to game, but quarter to quarter. Right. So you take a shot on the quarterback in the first quarter, I guarantee you there's another roughing the passer call later in the game because that guy's just looking for it now. And I think that stuff definitely plays on how games are called. Just like when the Patriots deployed, because they're the biggest cheaters in the history of football, when they deployed we're just going to do pass interference on every play, they won't call it every time. Like that technique, they start to look for it. So whatever, but it wasn't. I mean, I've sat through plenty of poorly officiated games and lived to tell the story.
I remember the replacement officials.
Right. So that wasn't.
I remember being at the locker with Matt Burke up in Philadelphia, whatever year that was, 8 years ago, and him sitting there in the locker and me asking officiating questions, and him just looking at me like, I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
He's like, they were just not ready to do this.
And I find it amusing also that like our tolerance for bad football, right? Like that real, I mean, almost 100 points or whatever, two bad defenses, right? Like we just tolerate sort of bad football because half the players are out on COVID, the other half are injured, and nobody's practicing. So let's just run out there and, we'll be on TV and everybody will appreciate it.
I have no problem with the AFL scores. 42-42 is better than 9-9, or 12-9 or whatever. And I'm not saying that's a bad game. It's a bad game when we lose to the Colts 15-6. Don't ask me why I remember that score, but I do, especially this time of year. Bill Cole is here. He is Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy on the backside of a lot of energy on Monday night. I had a flight out there. I didn't go. Obviously, I sort of kind of regretted it once it was 42-42, and I thought, well, I missed a pretty good one. But you know what? I stayed in bed, and I didn't expose myself to 1,000 different people and exposures and my wife and the holidays and, my cat's cozy in bed next to me, and I can turn it off afterwards or go in and do some radio. So I'm not sad in that I missed it. I'm sad in the circumstances that led to really 55,000 Clevelanders missing it as well. That's going to be sort of a high watermark for the whole season, I think, for all of us who stayed awake on Monday night. I think the ratings were up. But now the question is, if you're a Ravens fan, where do you go from here? 3 weeks, 3 not winnable games, 3 games where you better win. And if you lose and don't make the playoffs because of it, that will be its story unto itself. But a ramp-up period here. Yeah, yeah, back in 13, no doubt. After the Minnesota game. You can kind of
see that coming, right? You can kind of see that coming in this season. Like that will be the high watermark, to your point. And then we're going to lay an egg here in the next 3 weeks and find ourselves on the outside.
I think they're going to be in trouble one of these 3 weeks. That's the nature of the league, right? The nature of the league is it's going to be 23-21 in the fourth quarter in one of these games.
I just think we really have endured a lot of, not COVID, we have those problems, but legitimate injuries. I mean, what are the chances that when you lose your left tackle, you should make the playoffs? That's one of those positions, right? So we have had our fair share of injuries that make it questionable whether our team should make it to the playoffs. So the most concerning thing for me is it really is the only thing I watch, right, that means anything to me.
So when it goes away, you got a 9-month net. You're a bear, right? Literally.
I didn't make the fantasy playoffs, so I don't have that anymore. And without that, I don't have an excuse to hide in my basement, right? My wife wants me to do things, and
there's not even any Grammys or Oscars or ball game or concert or Live Aid or other than elections in this country, right? And sporting events.
The Terps
and press conferences. We do a lot of press conferences.
We'll be able to jump on the Terps. I'm more worried that
you think they're going to play.
That's what I was going to say. I'm more worried that their season ends sooner rather than
it's so stupid. College is playing. I'm sorry. That's my official take on it. Christmas week. I don't have any SAT word for it. It's just stupid. And it's really, yeah, the plague is sort of, brought out the cockroaches in the light in a lot of ways, and about where money is in this country, where medicine is in this country, where education is in this country, where media is. I mean, the light has been brought out on all of this over the last 9 months. And I would just say, well, I'll let you say on that. Go, what do
Oh,
you make of 9 months of this as far as trusted information? And, the NFL has played games without quarterbacks. They've played on Wednesday afternoons in the name of money. I think we really sort of understand where all of this is going here, that the money part of this has brought out some ugliness in the last 9 months in various corporations that answer to stockholders, stakeholders, board holders, and as Steve Bisciotti once said to me, we're a business. We have an obligation to make profit.
yeah. I mean, most of it, I believe, confirms kind of what we would all say. That like to the point of college basketball. I mean, college basketball is second, right, to football in money.
But is it
Because
first ahead of education in a school? That's supposed to be like, I'm not trying to be pious here, right? But like, if
no,
it says university on it, whether it's Alabama or Penn State or Ohio State, any of those schools, and obviously in the football thing, there's 8 or 10 of those and everybody else, right? We've learned that this year, that if you have enough money in your Notre Dame, you can play football, even if you don't have anybody to play. You literally, right? And if you're
well,
Army and Navy and the government's going to support it and swab you up and test you up, and you're going to get out there for good old Uncle Sam and play football, I've been appalled, honestly. Like, and I've alluded to it, but I've been kind of appalled that the collegiate system cannot be functional without playing sports. Like
well,
they don't make money.
yeah. I
Literally.
mean, but we've known for a long time that higher education is this bubble, and that things are completely out of control. And whether it's the sports or the tuitions or the campuses or whatever, it's just a broken system that
The
needs to
value
be torn down.
proposition's broken.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
really
Yeah.
screwed up. It's about the experience. It's really not about the education, right? Because there's kids go to these small schools in Pennsylvania, pay $40,000 a year, and then can't get a job when they leave.
A
Right?
friend of mine's daughter just, accepted at the school in the Midwest, and I'm not going to out him because I love him too much. And his daughter's going to this, Big Ten school and has her swag, and she's 17 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, the hell are you going to do out in the middle of like Wisconsin, the middle of Iowa?
Right.
Like you're from the East Coast. And I guess it's
It's the
experiential.
experience. Yeah,
They're going to wear the
absolutely.
shirt. They're going to be at the football games.
Yeah.
They're going to come. They're going to pledge. They're going to, do all that. And I don't know whether the education for, graphic art design or whatever it is, that's any different than, studying at Rutgers or studying at Maryland or studying at Towson or going to Essex Community College. I really don't know. In
I
the
mean,
era of the internet, I often wonder with the classroom settings, like with your kids, if they're learning online, why wouldn't my kid, if I had to do it again, or my grandkids, why wouldn't I say, let's just identify who the best kindergarten online teacher in the world is and go to that class?
oh, we've had. I think we've had this discussion. I think that they've completely missed the boat. You're 100% right.
But we would
Like
take away a billion jobs in America if we did.
Well, no, I don't even know that you need to do that.
My wife does yoga with the same woman that 8 million people a day do yoga with.
Correct.
Literally.
And that's fine for an adult who then doesn't need individual help afterwards. But she could, so 8 million, fine. And I would do that with the best third grade math teacher in the county, in the state, 20 minutes of instruction. And then the other 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, go into smaller groups with your teacher to help you work through that information. But the person that delivers that the best, that teaches those kids the best, charismatic, can deal with the technology, understands how to teach it. Yeah, I totally agree with you. We have not tried to innovate any of that because we're only a week away from everything going back to normal. Oh, we're only a week away from everything going back to normal. And people
The
just
shots are here.
Yeah, right. So
I saw 'em.
it's I think the other concept that you said is yes, for most people, I think we question the prioritization of what's going on. Why is it important to have football, but we can't do these other things? Or does having football make me question how safe it really is? because if they can play football, why are you telling me to stay home? How does that
A
make
friend
any
of
sense?
mine went on a ventilator Tuesday. A friend I've known for 30 years, very involved in a sponsorship, a big sponsorship in my company, in the hospital. I got a text from Pete,
Right.
and it's just somebody I've known forever,
Yeah, I
and
get it.
we've
It's
all been
it's
warned since March of what this was, and we've had various factions who could benefit. I'm moving my fingers together, bringing the money. Maybe I should drop the Michael J. Fox quarters on the ground. And that's where we are. And it's Christmas time, and we all have to stimulate the economy. Hey, I'm the first guy that says, go to Cole Roofing if you need a commercial roofing job. If you're gift giving, give some ice cream. Take $15.70 off. Buy the ice cream that's made right down the street from these young kids here who are now employee owners who I've had on WNST. I've had them on Baltimore Positive that we're trying. I really think there's going to be a renaissance for local, Billy. I really do. And I don't know what that means. You've always been local, right? How many roofs have you done outside of Maryland? But for over 100 years,
yeah, not many.
proportionally, right?
Right, not many. Sure.
Very, very few, right?
Yep.
How many
Yep.
listeners do I have? Yeah, I have some. They're all over the world. It's great. I've collected people, but it says Baltimore on the cover. And I think things that say Dundalk and Catonsville and Bel Air and Towson and Hereford and Westminster, those things are going to mean something as we become less mobile through this thing, where most of us have gotten used to staying home and don't want to be hassled with a long drive, in the
Well,
aftermath of
I
all of
agree. I
this.
mean, I agree that my question earlier when you were talking was like, how many people are going to go back to football games? Like is that just a switch that gets flipped and it's not a
And at what
problem?
cost? And when the bill comes, they're going to say,
Yeah.
where's
I've
the
learned how to
value
do this.
proposition, right? We're all
Right,
going to
I've
be
learned
asking
how.
for the new value proposition. Bill Cole is here. He's Cole Roofing and Gordy Energy. Tell everybody what you do on roofs, because currently, as we record this, the sloppiness has begun in the area. And I guess we're into the snow and cold and flu season, right, at this point.
Yeah. So, like you referenced, 100-year commercial roofer, 11 years in the solar business.
I'll pull the hat up for everybody. There you go.
Right. And if they are watching, like there's a picture behind me that describes it much better than I can,
That's a
but
school, isn't it? Yes?
it is a school. Yep.
That's a
So
solar school.
that is, it's a net zero school. So they create enough electricity that they don't actually buy from the grid, allegedly. I don't know. You have to measure it to confirm that, but
On a sunny day.
no, over time. So really, they generate more than they need, right? Because nobody's there on Saturday or Sunday, so that gets banked and then it gets used. So yeah, it nets out at zero. There are times where they might draw from the grid, but there's other times where they're pushing into the grid.
Does every school shut down its heat at 5 o'clock on Friday and bring it back up? I mean, I'm wondering the efficiency level of all of those kinds of things. Because my wife and I have gotten into this because she left me a week ago to go hang out with her family. It's cold as hell, and I've actually turned the heat down 4 degrees all
Sure,
day. And
sure.
she says, "Well, you're always freezing your ass off," and I'm like, well, I'm wearing a sweatshirt now, and I don't know. You've been gone a week, and I haven't been cold, and
Right.
I turned everything down 4 degrees. So I'm trying to figure out. She's like, "Well, I turn it down at night and up during the day. So when you wake up, I'm like, no, I wake up at 3 in the morning freezing my ass off. That's why I'm freezing, because you turn it down at night. So we're all trying to find new efficiencies because we have time on our hands now.
That
It's not
is true. Yeah.
it's not like I'm flying off seeing the Stones or Bruce right now, although he was good on Saturday Night Live. But I think we're all trying to figure out how to get better at stuff, right?
Yeah, when I get a chance to think, I wonder, which parts of this don't ever change, don't ever go back, like,
Oh, lots and lots and lots of stuff. Because we're
yeah,
creatures of habit. We're gonna have new habits when this is over with, right?
100%. Yeah,
I
no, I
wear
mean,
my freaking mask in the car. I find myself driving off. I'm like, oh, I
yeah,
still have the mask on, and my wife's like, you do it to keep yourself warm now.
right, right. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's less people resistant because they realize how much warmer they are if they keep their mask on. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's about um, trying to find a happy way to operate right now, and
And to
maybe
ride it out, literally ride it out.
exactly, and
Yeah.
maybe we should feel lucky that we got spring, summer, and fall to figure it out before we had to close down in the winter. You know, imagine if we tried to turn this switch on in the winter and no one had really gotten used to different things or staying home. You know, like I don't know, that would have been a different set of challenges. And I mean, the snow, that would be cool, right? Like it's a little bit disruptive to business right now. We were calling everyone yesterday, like, because whether we get a bunch or a little, I don't know, but take care of your roofs, get your drains cleaned, get your gutters cleared out. You don't want ice and stuff damming up. So, there's work to be done. Um, the
You say
economy,
that like ice damming up, and I'm thinking, oh, I know what he's talking about. It took me a
yeah,
minute. I'm like, because I was thinking like a beaver, and I'm like, oh yeah, the ice and then the water, and then psh, yeah, I got you.
right.
Yeah.
It remains really challenging to sort of see the future because the economy, from our perspective, seems to keep ticking along. I think there's significant change coming to like the commercial real estate market.
Oh, how about
Who's
New York City trying to get people to move back in
I think
when
I don't understand how New York City doesn't fall apart. I don't understand that. I don't with as expensive as it is, right? And people wanting grass, I have no idea how that doesn't go through just a terrible, terrible period of time because the vacancy rates will be so high. Then
well, I live in downtown Baltimore. Ask me how my condo is going to sell.
right. I mean, and then the tax base goes away, and now your public services are affected, and then crime goes back up. And I just I worry about places like that. I think the suburbs are going to go through a revival, a boom, and that'll be weird. And
But
but
malls aren't coming back.
yeah,
When you say suburbs to a guy my age, I think malls, right? I think highways. I think driving. I
I
think not walking. And I think people that live in suburbs over the last 9 months, certainly over this summer, explored their own neighborhood more than they ever have, right? People
100%,
walked in where they live in a way they maybe never walked before, to places
100%.
that maybe they used to drive, that on a night in May and June and July, they walked.
You say the malls are done, and I inherently agree. But I do believe there's a human need
Meeting
to
space or something there?
and like shop, right? Like you might not buy, you might just pull your phone out and order it while you're standing there holding it in your hands. Like that scenario could be created. But
Tap
just
to
like
purchase.
just like you and I would love nothing more than to go sit down and eat crabs and drink a couple beers and just talk, right? I think there's a fair
I'm
amount of
going to
people.
Costas to pick up cream of crab soup, and it still hasn't like struck me that I can't like go in,
Right.
sit down at the
I
bar. You know what I mean?
I
Like I
I
haven't been in
right.
there since like I sat at that bar with my mother for 30 years. It's kind of
I know.
weird. Hey Pete, give me some cream of crab to go.
Right.
I want some
I
crab imperial to go.
yeah, I
I want to sit
think
and watch the Orioles and drink light
I,
beer.
I think people, shopping for the sake of window shopping or whatever, I think that was a thing that people did. Um, and that was probably what helped the malls
But
survive
those
for as
shops
long
need to
as they
stay in
did.
business. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm wondering when I drive by many retail locations, I'm wondering how how can that place afford that rent? And what I'm hearing is a lot of the developers have started to cut rent, give backs, and take 3 months, and all of the things that are going to be necessary because much like everyone else, even if they're sitting on a golf course with a country club membership, they need things to get back to normal in the next sort of 12 to 24 months as well to normalize, because if everybody goes away, there is no mall anymore. And I think we've all seen the images of the mall with the tumbleweeds and right. I mean, literally the abandoned mall, right?
my wife had a really interesting concept that she hit me with like 2 nights ago, and I want to give her credit because it was a good one. So think of all the people who are ordering their groceries either through an Instacart type deal where they get delivered to the house, or order online and then you go and you just
Curb
pick
it.
them up,
Right.
right? Yeah. So if you think of how grocery stores were structured, you ever hear the concept you could actually grocery shop all the way around the edges and that you don't actually have to go up and down the aisles? Have you ever heard of those type of, like, your milk, your meat,
Yeah,
your
everything is in the
vegetables,
perimeter, right?
everything's on the perimeter.
There is
And
never a
it's
time I walk into a supermarket without realizing, and Rob Santoni's a dear friend of mine, and Wise Markets has been, good to us, and we're hoping to be partners with them next year, that there is an absolute science to,
right.
when I walk into a supermarket, I realize what's going on there instantaneously. I know how well run it is, how clean it
Right.
is from the minute I walk in, and I realize there's probably no industry in this country that has been more about, are you on this shelf?
Right.
Or are you on this shelf? Or are you on that shelf? Right?
But if so, so the idea being that I know I'm going to the store to buy milk, I need some chicken, I want some vegetables. I don't really need the box of candy bars in the third row. I don't really need the sugar drinks. I don't really need, the box of cereal. But I go up and down those aisles and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted those granola bars. I want,
I knew you were going to say granola because I bought some the other day.
right.
I bought some like
So
macadamia nut. The granola always gets me because it feels like
I
it's
mean,
healthy. You
right,
know?
but it's not right. I'm with you. I'm with you. I have a soft spot for those. And they're easy, right? That's the big thing. They're
You don't have
easy.
to
Just
make
grab
it.
them
You
and
just
go.
eat it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that world get disrupted when we're not impulse buying because we're going up and down the rows? When I'm going on the internet and I'm just browsing, and
It's
maybe
amazing, bro. In my life, I have never willingly bought anything online. And maybe that speaks to my age. You know what I mean? Like, I have never, ever, ever in my life gone online and just spun and said, "Oh, I want that," and bought it. Like,
mm,
ever in my life, I've never done that. Like it,
I
and
I
my wife will sit for all night and use it like Macy's. Like
I
in the old
used
days, hey,
to.
I'm going to go to the mall. I'm looking for a blouse. And you go, and 3 hours later, there's a sandwich, and there's a candle that got bought, and I saw some shoes on sale, and they fit, so I bought. There's none of that. My wife shops. My wife is an American woman born in 1972, loved malls, grew up in. My wife is a consumer. She
Yeah.
loves that. I want to use the ish word. I'm not. I'll go with you shopping. I go to the mall. Oh, I'm here twice a year. I see a shirt. It's on sale. I buy it. Not like
The
I'm looking online for something. Men
so
and
it's
women are different in this country. My wife bought.
Oh,
How,
totally,
how about
totally.
this, dude?
But
Give
here,
me
let me
something
hit.
here.
No, don't change because I want to
Oh
hit
man,
on
I
what
want to
you
talk
just
about
said.
Zappos. I got to talk about
Okay.
Zappos.
But understand and maybe it's a man thing, maybe it's a personality thing. I don't know. I'm similar in terms of I will go without, right? Like, oh, I wish I had that, but I don't really need it, right? And oh, the next time we think of it, we'll get it, right? But it's no big deal. And going 2 weeks without something is not a big deal,
It
right?
hasn't occurred to me that I could click on anything in the world and
Yeah.
buy it right now if I wanted to. Like that,
That's
there's a synapse in that I don't need it that badly, right? And whatever it is. And the fact that I'm not seeking it out, even though it seeks me out. If
right.
I say macadamia nuts right now, my phone hears it, I'm going to get served the macadamia nut ad on Facebook by 10 o'clock. No
Yes,
doubt.
the where the click happened for me, which is the kiss of death, right? And this is what Amazon is banking on, right? Is now I realize that I don't have to be at risk of forgetting the next time we go to the store to remember the item that I wanted
It's in the cart.
because in 2 clicks I can have it being delivered. And because there's no expense to me around delivery, I buy that way now. See, when you had to pay for deliveries, that was a dissuader from doing it. But with
Still is.
Prime, but with Prime, they have hidden the delivery fee. So we feel like, why wouldn't I buy one toothbrush at, you know, six o'clock in the morning when I realized that, oh my gosh, I really need a new toothbrush. This is terrible. and I can 2 clicks later have it, and it's delivered to my house the next day in a little box. They probably spent more on gasoline getting me the toothbrush than the toothbrush is worth. And there's problems with all of that. So I appreciate your perspective. Once they made it easy enough, like that 2 clicks later, the ferry drops it off outside my house.
See,
That's the
conceptually,
scary
though,
part.
you and I, as entrepreneurs, conceptually, you're trying to come up with something that people will say, wow. You know what I mean? It's a wow, like, oh, that's great, right? Nobody's doing that. The Zappos thing, and I know of that tragedy, and I read about, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Saya, but
I'm not gonna
he
help you.
died 2 weeks ago. Google him if you don't know. If you do know, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Of all the things in the world that I would never order online, and it goes back to the old Saturday Night Live skit. Good sex, comfortable shoes, and a warm place to go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
Comfortable shoes. The notion that I would ever order shoes online without putting them on my feet and have them come to my house and put them on my feet when 9 out of 10 shoes I've ever put on my feet that I like don't feel good. And if they don't feel good, guess what doesn't feel good? My back, Bill. Let me pull out the ice pack here to show you what happens when I sit on ice for 38 minutes with Bill Cole. So, I would just say this. The fact that a dude sold primarily women shoes online in a box and said, I'll make this convenient that you can ship them back. And I said to my wife, there's 6 boxes of shoes here. Why didn't you just go to the mall? Like I don't understand that. I'll never, and that's just me being an old white guy, I guess. But that dude made bank, tragic ending, I get all that, off of a concept of something that I would never do in a million years because it just doesn't make any sense to me to have 6 boxes of shoes show up, have none of them fit me, and have to return them. My wife thinks it's really easy to return stuff. I bought a pair of sandals 6 years ago on one of the non-returnables. It was a half an inch too big. They're still sitting in the box. They cost me $60, and I ate it. And so maybe somewhere down the line, Lisa Rosiniak will get them. You know what I mean?
I agree, other than because my wife is equally willing to return things.
I feel guilty.
I make her in charge of that. So, she's an enabler of me doing what you just said. I agree with you wholeheartedly on the shoes. The only shoes I have ever successfully bought on the internet are a second pair of a pair that I already have.
Correct.
That I know.
You knew the tag, the label.
I knew everything. Yes. Yeah, I knew everything.
I have bought 6 pairs of this shoe, the one I'm wearing right here, because Charm City, Josh down at Charm City got me into a shoe that makes me feel good. Now, my back's screwed up right now, but that's on me. It was my fault. But, I look at the little tag in it, and these are Oreo colors, by the way. They don't come in they don't come in purple. And if Under Armour wants me to wear Under Armour shoes, they should call me. But anyway.
I still am searching as well for good shoes, other than like the one pair that I have that I. It's
comfortable shoes, good sex, comfortable shoes, warm place to go to the bathroom.
Yes. So
that's a Chevy Chase
I did
thing.
fall victim. I did fall victim. I ordered a pair of shoes that is my Christmas gift to myself that I've never worn before.
How do you know they're going to feel good?
I've never even heard of them. They were $30. Let's hold on. They were $35.
Oh, see, I knew they were going to be on sale, right?
So that's super reasonable.
Put the hook in.
No, I don't even think that's sale. I think that's just what they charge for these shoes.
Okay.
And the written description and reviews are all about sort of my primary complaint, which I have a high arch, so I need arch support.
Okay, fair enough.
So but to your point, I'm prepared to burn $35 and give them to Goodwill. I'm prepared for that to occur. So it's funny.
I will not. You know what happens right when I'm hitting click on the checkout cart? I'm like, don't need it. Don't want it. Don't need it.
I do that a lot too. Yep.
I do that when I tweet about the President of the United States. Bill Cole is here. He's Cole Roofing. He is Gordian Energy. He does roofs commercially. Been doing it for 100 years. Not him for 100 years, but his family's been doing it for 100 years. We get together once a week. I drink Rofo coffee out of his mug. I wear his hat. We talk about his business and usually try to solve problems. So the Ravens, what's the ceiling on the Ravens right now? Give me a little love and hope and dreams and all this. Because I said to Luke this week, And now that the resurrection has begun of the season, right? Now it's like they better not spit up over the next 3 weeks. These better be training wheels in a preseason, and they don't have to be impressive victories. But they cannot include devastating injuries. And I'm going to get flippant. And I said this to Luke. This is a September team that's clinched the pennant, that has to win, 10 games in September, do okay, and get the starting rotation together for October. Whoever they play, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Kansas City, it's going to be on the road. They're going to have to go. It's going to be the weather. It's going to be all that. They need to be the best version of themselves on January 9th and 10th. And I know Harbaugh knows that. But they have to win these games, and the locomotive has to get going here. But if they do all of this, slap around, kick a field goal to beat Cincinnati at the end, stumble into Kansas City, and lose 38-17, it's not going to be a happy outcome. I mean, losing the first playoff game, we know what that looks like.
And I worry that that'll be the third year in a row where Lamar does that, and now he's got a brand, can't get past the first round. So what I mean, do we have a backup quarterback?
No.
Right. Not at all, right? Like, there's
Colin
not even anybody on the roster.
I've seen
there's nobody on the roster. Yeah, there's nobody on the roster. I don't think.
As we speak,
sure.
It's Wednesday.
But this is
by the time people hear this on Sunday, they'll have a quarterback.
I know, but this is the great part of the COVID NFL season. Like, what's the long-haired tight end dude that's on our team now? Matt Wilson, is that his name?
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson. I'm love the guy, but I'm fairly certain he's been sitting on his couch for a couple weeks. And his first game, he was an epic disaster. Now it appears he's getting his stuff together, because there was something that made them bring him onto the roster, right? Like, as opposed to the other 10 names they have on the tight end list, right?
Well, he played in the league.
I understand, but there's all these guys that are like that, because the COVID takes out all these people. They go way far down the
Pecco's back
list.
playing for Arizona 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, Chad Brown, my dear buddy out in Denver, played for the Steelers, played for one of the all-time great dudes.
Where's Flacco?
Well, he's riding the pine with the Jets, the 0-12,
okay.
soon to be 0-13 Jets.
Okay.
Now, Flacco has a job.
Okay, all right.
No, it's all good. Flacco's on, he's not on scholarship. He's up and running around with the Jets. They don't have a defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Bill Cole is here.
I'm just wondering how deep, like, what's the name? Who's the name? Like, is John going to recruit Jim to come be our backup quarterback on Sunday? Like how far down the list?
Chase Daniel went into a game the other day. I mean, they're guys. They got dudes.
I see, and I love that part of it. I think, like, I love the guy's name, and you. Oh my gosh, I remember him. He's
still playing.
He was at Texas A&M 3. You know what I mean? Like, I like that part of it.
Who's the blonde guy that's played everywhere? He was in Chicago 6 weeks ago. Had a brother. He's been in the Verizon commercial. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I
don't. He's been a backup for 20 years. I can't. He's been a backup so long, I can't think of his name. I see.
Not Chad Henne, right?
No.
Okay.
He was drafted instead of. If I Google backup quarterback, he might just come up on Google
as the number one guy. The number one backup.
Hold on, backup quarterback. Let me see. No, that's not Tom Brady.
There was a Colt McCoy sighting, right? But he was he with the Redskins? Colt McCoy.
If I don't remember this guy's name, it's going to kill me. If I put Verizon commercial backup quarterback. Backup Luke McCown. There it is. Josh McCown and Luke McCown.
Yes,
it took me a minute. I knew I'd come up with it. Bill Cole's here. Cole Roofing, Gordian Energy. You can find them on the internet. My coffee mug's getting a little ragged here, dude, but that's good. It just means I'm using it. It's good to visit with you. I hope we get together next week on the eve of Christmas and talk about the holidays. Next week we can talk about sauerkraut and kielbasa, or no sauerkraut and kielbasa on your Christmas menu.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
All right, I'm Nestor.
We're
ordering ice cream around here. We got kind of lost in translation. I did not bring, or did I bring it in here? I think, no, I haven't brought it in yet. I ate the ending of the Black is Beautiful ice cream from Taharka. Billy, it was a chocolate stout from Monument City Brewing right over in Highlandtown. and it has oats in it. So it's chocolate stout oats. It was creamy beyond belief. And it was something about it when it got down to the bottom that it smelled like beer. It had a little taste of beer, like a stouty, malty flavor, but it was so chocolatey. God, it was good. I mean, it was just so good. So, to Harka Brothers, I'm getting lost in ice cream. You can get the eggnog. You can get the peppermint bark. I don't think you can get the Black is Beautiful right now, but
that's like seriously high level to Harka experience. What we need to be explaining to people is just the honeygram. Like, that's the gateway drug.
Dude,
like,
I was over there watching him make it last week.
Right. You just have to start there because it literally is like a life-changing event. You didn't know this was possible until you do it. And that's no joke. I tell everybody that.
Yeah, honeygrams got to be in the – I've gotten so far down the line in talking exotic flavors here that sometimes you just forget the good old tried and true, The plain salsa is pretty good. Doesn't need anything else, right?
Right. Yeah.
Honeygram, Tarka, $15.70 off. Use Baltimore Positive as your code when you check out. If they still have caramel apple crisp, it's because I didn't eat it all. Apple butter ice cream. Who comes up with this stuff? I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. Happy holidays, everybody. We have great conversations ahead and some football, too. We never stop talking Baltimore sports and Baltimore Positive.